Hi, welcome back. This is quite an important part of the build. It's a really important part of the build. Getting this cockpit tub to fit in there properly. Now, if you just build a kit and you're quite complacent about this and just follow the instructions with Airfix and say fit this into there, you could run into problems, which I did originally when I built this kit the first time around. So what I'm trying to do is trying to explain, this will save you hassle later on if you get this bit right. It's not difficult to do, it's just important that you get it right. So what we're trying to avoid, when you fit this part of the wing onto the bottom of the fuselage, what can happen is, or what I found happens, if you don't get that cockpit tub in the right places, there's other things can go wrong as well. But if you get this wrong, this doesn't fit right, i.e. it doesn't fit snug into the bottom of the fuselage, you won't get this bottom wing in the right place, and you could end up, and I've seen this quite a lot on people that have posted pictures, you could end up with this wing when it's fitted with a step in it there, which I can't stand. It looks awful because on the real aeroplane, this wing root fairing here doesn't fit on. It fits on top of the wing, but not to the extent where there's a step in it like that. To the naked eye, it should look pretty much flush to that edge, and you could end up with gaps in it and all sorts of stuff. And even worse, you could, if something goes really wrong, you could end up with it like that. So we're trying to avoid that. And we also want to avoid a misalignment around this bulkhead here. Now I've mentioned in another video, one of the top tip videos, how to avoid that. And I'm going to now glue this into there, and I'll show you how that works. So I'm not building this quite conventionally today. It's not out of the box building this. I've put control cables in here and stuff like that. There's videos on that as well. So I'm not fitting this part onto here yet because I need to be able to get to these cables. Sorry, I'm doing a video. I need to get to these cables to glue them into the back of the fuselage to get them tensioned up so they look straight and tidy. So I'm not fitting this part of the cockpit tub. I'm not gluing it on here yet. If you follow the instructions in the Airfix thing, all this would be assembled and done. This side would be complete and done. But I'm not doing that. But the process is the same. I'm going to dry fit this part on here and make sure it does fit well as well. Dry fitting this kit is vitally important. Everything needs to be dry fitted many times over just to make it all fit nice and tidy. And I've done a video on how to fit the bulkheads and everything, and cleaning the edges and make sure they all fit into these grooves. These grooves here. Make sure that there's little channels all over the place where these bulkheads do fit in. Now go back and watch the videos. I'll put links in on how to make sure these do that. So again, it's important. What also is important is this side of the cockpit tub, which then mates into that side there. You don't want any lumps and bumps, bits sticking out or anything. So go around it all with whatever tools you want. Doesn't really matter. And just file off any nasty edges, anything that can stick out. Prevent it fitting into there. Well, that can be a classic there where I don't know if you've fitted that bit yet, but I did anyway. Just make sure there's nothing stuck out there. Make sure there's nothing stuck out anyway. And make sure you remove all the glue, any paint residue from anything, so it can get a good bond. I'll just take a file to it and I'm not going to do it again. And take a file to it and make sure you've got some nice clear plastic with no paint on it. Same again on this part of the thing. Make sure you remove the paint from here. So just remove it with anything. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as the glue can get in and make a good bond. And when you get to that point, you'd think, all right, let's bang some glue in that slot there, and then let's introduce this into there. I don't do that. You could do, and I'm sure you could get away with it. Maybe, I don't know. But when you put that in there, again, this is another thing that people need to avoid. Do not glue this bit, all that bit to there. It doesn't need to be glued in. If you do that, you can end up with a misalignment problem later on, and I'll show you what that is. So just fit the tub in there without any glue. Please ignore these wires. So we're fitting that into there with no glue on. Okay, get the other fuselage side. No glue involved yet. Okay. And that's all dry fitted together now, isn't it? Get some rubber bands. Got some chocolate on there. Get some rubber bands. Get some rubber bands on there. Let them reasonably tight, they don't have to be too bad. If you want to put it on, yeah. Same at the front. This is another area that's really tricky to get wrong. Not get it wrong, it's a really irritating part of the build is this. If you don't line this up right, the cockpit flushes up to this edge here. And if you get it wrong, you end up with a step like that or a step like that, and it just looks rubbish. And the screen fits beautifully. You don't need to. If you do it right, you don't have to worry about trying to fill that bit. But there is by its design, this kit doesn't have a nice sharp edge on those two mated surfaces there. So whatever you do, you're gonna have to fill it at some point. You'll do something with that edge to make it look right. If you do it, you're going to have a nice groove down the middle of the fuselage, which looks rubbish. It's not how it is. It should be smooth, because that's a plate that completely goes over there. So, and again, you're going to have to, I'll go through this when I get to that point, but you have to fill this part at some, where the cockpit, this is part of the cockpit fairing, if you like, it's moulded into this part of the fuselage. So this is an irritating bit of the kit. I don't like how they've done this at all, but anyhow, it is what it is. So I'll get another rubber band. Put a rubber band on that. So now it's dry fitted together. Nothing's glued to anything at all. We're not putting any glue on there, by the way, and we're not putting glue anywhere on anything. This is all going to come back apart again. All I want to achieve with this at the moment is glue that side of this cockpit tub to that fuselage half. That's all I'm doing. Now, if you went away and glued that cockpit tub to that half without any of this assembled, what you could end up with, and I've gone through it on the top tip already, you could end up with that bit glued beautifully to that side there, like that, and then you could end up with this, where that's stuck out like that, and you can't then line it up. You know, you can't physically get it to fit on properly. So you end up with a nicely fitted part there and a gap there. And even worse, when you put, I think it's actually part of the build before you join it, but there's a strut runs down here and it can end up out of line, so it's like this. And it looks horrible. So don't glue those parts together. Just leave them, don't put any glue on ever. You don't need to. So now we've got the cockpit tub in, just make sure it sits nice and flush and as best it can possibly fit in there. Now it's only going to do that if you do all the preparation work and get all these bulkheads to fit in all the recessed parts that it needs to fit in. Now I think that's pretty good now. If you look down there, you need to look in the cockpit and make sure there's no gap there where my fingernail is. It needs to be nicely pushed up and flushed to that edge. If it isn't, take it apart and make sure it does. And they should be good to go there. So now that's in and as pushed home as much as possible. When you put the wing on, I can't do it with rubber bands, when you put the wing on, it'll fit perfect. And then you'll have no trouble aligning the top half of the wing halves. So what we do now to get that to glue in, you don't have to go mad with the glue either. I'm pretty cautious again. I don't want to get this wrong myself, because it's a really important part of the build to get this right. I like how they've designed this. This is basically the bottom of the fuselage inside. These fairings here, if you took those off the real one, you'd end up with a continued rolled part of the fuselage. So I did wonder at some point if I was going to be adventurous enough to get two kits and then remove the fairing off the fuselage like this piece here and take it off and then have it on a diorama where it's all like in a thing being maintained, because they do take these fairings off to maintain them. And then, but I can't do it. I just can't work out how to blend the fuselage in and make it look right. I think it'd just end up destroying two kits. It was a nice thought, but it's not happening. Right. So what you could do to glue that in now, in fact, probably what I will do. I'm gonna get just a brush of some sort, extra thin. don't need that brush. And then drop. Make sure you don't put it on the wrong pieces. When it's upside down, it's this side. So what I want to do is just drop glue into there, and it'll capillary down into those edges. And put a bit there. You can see it, you can't probably see it on camera, but it's just made a nice lovely bead in there now. I'll put a little bit at the front there. Yeah, I'm nicely snugged in now. Might have to put a clip on that front part there. So again, there's nothing in this bit here. This front part, it's got detail in it, but you'll never, unless you do some serious scratch building to expose the fuel tank and put a fuel tank in it and all that business, you're never going to see it. Now you can see a gap there. Can you see that where that's not pushed in completely? So what I need to do is make sure that will sit in nice and flush as much as possible. I'm going to hold that. This extra tin goes off really quick, and I'm just holding that with my fingers. I'm going to put a little bit more in there. You can make a right mess of this part of the kit. You can't see it. You get plenty of glue in there. You might notice I haven't put the bulkhead in the front either for the engine. I don't do that straight away. I prefer to build the engine onto the bulkhead and then put the whole assembly in afterwards. This build might be a little bit different because I'm wanting to do some modifications to that as well. But we'll see. But anyway, that's I'm just going to hold that in my fingers like that until I'm confident it's not going to move. Keep checking it inside as well. So there we are, that's what we've done. I'm going to keep checking this while the glue goes off, and when it's dry and I'm happy with it, I'll take it apart and show you what you end up with, which is nothing exciting I suppose, but yeah, I'll be back shortly. Okay, I've left this for a good 20 minutes, half an hour to set. There's no point rushing this part of the build at all. There's no point rushing any part of the build. But yeah, I've made sure it's set well, so let's take the bands off now. And I'm quite happy with how it's gone, it's been fine. So no glue's crept into anywhere it shouldn't, and then glued something to it that I didn't want to. So yeah, as I said, this part there, this isn't glued on. So we've now got that side glued in, using the whole rest of the structure as a jig to make sure it's in the right place, if you like. I feel quite confident I could have just pushed that into that place and glued it in, but there's no point risking it. Just make sure it all lines up and everything's good. So yeah, it's glued in. That's as good as it needs to be glued in. There's plenty of glue down there. I'm quite happy with that. So I can now secure these control lines further down. I'll get them under tension individually and then glue them down the side of the fuselage and stuff. So the next stage, it obviously, as I say, you would have built this like that, I'd have thought, but because I've done this I couldn't. So all this is to avoid the problems I've already mentioned. This bit's horrible, it really is. But when the wing's on now, if it's right, it should just kind of fall into place. The thing's pretty well engineered, to be fair. When these all line up and push together, and that bit there, there's a little scoop in there for it to just kind of sit in nicely. You've got the opportunity to then just chill out a bit now. Everything will go well. I will do a video on how to actually glue the wing on, because there's a right and a wrong way to do that as well. There's a bit of a teaser to that, I suppose. When you glue this part onto, this is the last joint you make. You don't want to be trying to glue it on. So all the rest of the wing wants to glue onto the bottom here, but that wants to glue onto this bit, but the last joint you make is this one. So you've got some latitude to move it up and down, so you get a nice joint there. What I tend to do is just tack it with a bit of super glue, but we'll go through that one and actually join it together. So yeah, that's it really. I don't know if is it a top tip video? I don't know, maybe top tip number 4, this one I suppose. Yeah, hope that helps you out, and I'll catch you on the next one. Just a PS to this one, just a bit of, it needs mentioning I think. You can get aftermarket parts that fit on this bulkhead, PE parts, and you can get the headrest, the armour plate that's PE as well. I've done that before, and I got bitten quite badly with that, because that's probably one of the reasons why it was so, but it didn't fit very well. It makes this bulkhead wider, so to accommodate the width of the bulkhead, you've got to then try and cut out a channel in the plastic so that it fits in there, and it's really difficult to do without making a right mess of it. At least at the time I struggled to get that right, and I think it was one reason why this bulkhead didn't fit very well. But even if you did get it to fit well, it does make it kind of stick further forward then. So I don't like that particular piece for that very reason, and I would never fit PE on that bulkhead. You can get some that fits around that lip of that bulkhead there if you want, but you can't see it anyway. So yeah, I don't know, I would keep away from PE on that bulkhead personally. It's just not worth the effort. It looks quite nice I suppose, but I don't like it. And again, as I say, these bulkheads aren't glued in. Look, they are glued into the bottom bit, but they're not glued here. They can float about. And you may notice as well, this one, it's not glued into there either. And I think that's kind of important to have that floating around so you can manipulate this area when you glue this bit together as well. It doesn't actually seem to fit very well anyway. It never fits in the slot very well. At least I can't get it to fit in very well. This is an aftermarket control panel by the way, but that's not preventing it fit anything. But yeah, anyway, catch you in a bit.